Accept call.
You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Hello, Tamara. How are you today? Oh my goodness, yes. I'm ready for the challenges that are set forth in this hectic world. Wow. Okay, now wait. You're in a wheelchair and they've got 3 people per room? Oh boy. Now that's something I did not see coming. And some people have to. Oh, wow. So you're telling me, right? Okay, so there's people that are in a room that's designed for 2 folks. Okay, so they shut down the some units over there, 2 units, and 3 people are in a room, and there's 2 chairs. So when they go to the room to eat something or when they want to fix their own meal, one person has to stand. Why don't they allow a third chair in there? Oh man, those must really be small rooms. So you have like 3 bunks, 3 people. It can't, that can't be a permanent thing. That has to be something that's temporary. Because I know they're going through some major changes over there at the facilities, and so that could just be part of the process. Well, yeah, I know you're in a wheelchair, so for you, it has to really be crowded. What about health? How's health going? Are you getting your proper medical attention? Well, that's good. That is definitely a good thing. I really haven't been hearing too many complaints about the health system. So I'm going to say that there's a budget set aside for you guys and they're sticking with it. But I imagine with the economy the way it is, everything else is just going to go skyrocketing prices. And so feeding you, clothing you, uh, electricity, um, even basic supplies for you are going to have to be budgeted. And when you have a budget that was made, months ago, oh yeah, I know. Then yeah, you have a crowded day room, but you have to look at it like this. Like I keep hearing on my website, you did the crime, so do the time. So you guys are in prison, and we can't expect wall-to-wall carpeting and central air and heat and all the comforts of the outside world. That's what you look forward to. That's why it's like a motivator to get you to do the right thing so you can get back out and be with your family. But medical, the basic needs, that's something that's not a part of the deal to be played around with. Mm-hmm. Well, good, good. I'm glad we're on the same. Yeah, yeah. That okay. So good. I'm glad you're not expecting the 5-star accommodations over there. And it really doesn't break my heart when people get the 1-star deal because I need everything I can to motivate people to get out and to help folks when they get out and then not want to ever go back. Recidivism is
You have 60 seconds remaining.
crazy. Cray cray, yeah. Okay. So you have 3 people per room. It's practically overcrowded. Are the people in the room, are they hardcore? Are they somebody that should be in there for a few years? Okay, well, maybe there's a possibility that they're going to be letting them out early. Well, yeah, I know. I know that,
You have 30 seconds
but
remaining.
we have to look at everything, all possibilities. And I'm not going to discount that they have something planned. And I would say we need to just stick with that for now. Let's wait and see what's going on. Don't jump to conclusions. Okay, yeah, I'll reach out to them. I'll let them know what's going on, and I'll keep you posted. Keep me posted on all that stuff that's going on. Welcome to AQS Inmate Call. I am your host, Joel Wilborn. And that conversation is based on a recent conversation I had with my fiance concerning the conditions over at the Washington Correction Center for Women. She was diagnosed with cancer, so she is battling that chronic illness within those walls. Gets very little sympathy from the outside world because we've got one group that wants to keep everybody locked up because they're a danger to society, and then another group that wants to try to reduce costs and reduce the prison population and get folks out back into society where they can at least apply the skills that they picked up while locked up and prove that they don't want to go back. You know, it's one of those things where it's kind of like you can win either way. I'm not a big fan of making prisons comfortable. I know back in Spokane, Washington, about 100 years ago or so, there were people who were homeless and they wanted to commit crimes, go to jail so they can get 3 meals and a place to sleep. And when you're homeless and it's cold, that's a pretty good deal. You know, you break into somebody's house and the police catch you and lock you up. So a judge said, I don't want this happening anymore. Anybody who's locked up in jail is going to have to go to the rock quarry. And that's the things you see in the movies and stuff. They're out there just shackled up and banging on the rocks. And there were a lot of people that responded positively in that manner too. They did not want to go back to jail, especially working on that rock quarry. So that reduced things. And that was a clever move on the judge's part. And here, these conditions are appalling. They do not want to live under this. And if I hear complaints about lack of medical attention or the wrong pills or mismanagement, you know, something that the prisons are supposed to do, a basic human right, that really gets under my skin, and I'll fight that. It's very rare that if they don't have color TV, then I'm going to be very upset about that. I do get upset about people who are put in prison who are not guilty, and I've been running across a few things like that. So this particular situation that was described to me that's going on at the prison, 3 people are put into a room designed for 2. My fiance said that when time comes for them to eat something, there's only 2 chairs in there. And they can't bring a 3rd chair. So somebody will be standing, you know, if everybody's eating at the same time. And I was asking, well, can you put another chair in there? And she was saying, well, there's not enough room for a 3rd chair. And anybody who brings one in from the day room will be scolded and they'd have to put it back out. And yeah, I mean, if ever, you know, they're lucky enough to have a chair, it could be that they'll just give you a tray, give you your food, and if you don't eat in the cafeteria, you just have to stand up. And there's not too many people that will sympathize with that. But if you have a medical condition, you know, for me, I could stand for a meal. I could survive. I was in the military. We ate in all kinds of weird conditions. But there's some people that can only stand for just a little while. And I'm sure the other two roommates would be happy to give them a chair and sit down. And that's good camaraderie. That's the way things work in a lot of close knit communities. And when you're stuck in a cell with somebody, it's make or break. You either work with these people or you don't, and hopefully you will. So hearing that just gave me a new insight on it, on what's going on inside the prison. So just so you know that putting too many people in a prison, in a way, it defeats the purpose, because then you have unsafe conditions. Now, my fiance told me she felt ill. She actually suspected that she had COVID because she was coming up with COVID symptoms. And she went to medical to find out what was going on with her. And they were telling her that those could possibly be side effects of the medication that she was taking. And she takes quite a bit of medication because of some medical conditions that popped up since she's been in lockup. So she thinks, oh, okay, I can deal with this. And so she goes back to her room. Comes to find out, she did have COVID-19, and she gave COVID to her roommates. Close quarters, when you have to be 6 feet apart, is just about the dumbest thing anybody on this planet could do. And they know that. They're in this place putting people in close quarters when there's a pandemic going around. And they had to sign an agreement that those who test positive would go down to what was normally called the hole. It's supposed to be for other things now, but they'll put it in there for isolation. And if they test negative, they go back to their room. And this is an agreement they had to sign. So think about this. When these people get out, we're not going to know if they have COVID. And if they're in there and this thing starts spreading around, I'm no medical professional. I really don't know the if this is going to happen or not, or if it's true. But I'll just throw out there that what if COVID starts growing in there because of these close settings? We do know that if you're less than 6 feet apart, there's the possibility of spreading it is higher than if you're over 6 feet apart. But what if a new strand pops up? What if they're so close together and it just goes rampant in there, and it's unchecked, and they don't get proper attention, and then they do come out into the world, and then we have a new spread. The way the news talks to us is you need to really be careful. We don't want to contribute to the spread. Wear your masks, keep your distance. Well, if they're wearing masks and not keeping their distance and not given the proper protective equipment, it could get outside those walls. There is that possibility. And if I was running a closed area, let's say I have a house with 5 people in it, and COVID pops up, I'm not going to be walking all around in that place. Everybody has to be isolated. I have to keep control, keep it out. And that's not that difficult to do when you have a controlled environment. I did catch COVID, and there were 4 other people in this small apartment with me. I stayed in my room. If they needed to talk to me, they would knock on the door and give me things or ask for if I needed anything. And COVID wasn't spread. Nobody else caught it. I immediately let them know that there was a possibility they could have been exposed and they needed to go get tested. We came out good. I stayed in there for my required amount of time, came out, clean bill of health. We survived. That doesn't happen in a prison. And to tell my fiance to go back to her room because it could be side effects of a medication, that COVID has to be on their mind 24 hours a day. The minute a prison official walks into work, think COVID. I could be bringing COVID in here. I could pick up COVID and take it on the outside. COVID could be dormant in here and not show any symptoms. There could be a lot of people that are asymptomatic. It just, these things have to constantly pop through their mind. And I think the public needs to be aware that this COVID pandemic is never going to end if we keep doing dumb things like sticking people in tight quarters. The King County Jail, which is in Seattle, does the same thing. It sticks a bunch of people in a room. That works when you don't have a pandemic that's floating around out there. 100 years ago, when these people were taught a lesson that sitting in the jail is not a free room and board, there wasn't a pandemic running around. So you could pack them in there. Now there is. And we have to pay attention to that. There's still stress. There's still trauma. There's still, like my fiance was saying, that there's a lot of people who require treatment for their mental health issues. And for some folks, they don't plan on committing a crime and getting caught and going to prison. So they're sitting in prison isolated, away from their family. It's hard for them to get to the phones right now because it's so crowded and the phones are being used excessively to get that connection. I'm all for the connection. And limiting it to folks isn't helping. Just imagine if you're sitting in a room and you can't talk to anybody. It's not something that you would have to actually go into a medical emergency over, but it doesn't help the mental state of anybody to just be isolated like that. For me, I'm an introvert, so isolation is not so bad. For a lot of folks, being cut off from the world is just too much to handle. So I just want to let everybody know that these folks will probably get out sooner than later. And the main thing is they will get out. And what's going to be their state of mind? We're so concerned about gun control right now. Nobody's really thinking about when people get out, are they going to be able to get a job? Are they going to be able to get the training and the certification? And are they going to be able to blend back into the community? Of course, not the way they were that it was before they went in there. But are they going to be able to get back out into the community and live a relatively safe, crime-free life? Or are we going to just treat them so badly that when they get out, they'll commit crimes again? My fiance said there's a rampant of drugs within this facility, and that's true everywhere. Drugs are just prominent. And when you have prison officials who aren't making the kind of funding that they want, and they talk to these drug people, I was an undercover narcotics agent. Drug money is strong, and it's easy to get that type of money and to get that type of reward. So to be tempted by the high profitability of drugs and smuggling it in there, that's understandable. So these prisons now are a stomping ground for the COVID virus, and it's full of drugs. There's people walking out into the day rooms over there, and a lot of the people are high. And why are they getting high? Because they're miserable in there. And that's their go to. So these rehabilitation programs are not working. Washington Corrections Center for women, no, it's just a holding pen. It's a cesspool for drugs and disease and mistreatment. And this needs to stop. We can do this other ways. And instead of finding ways to lock people up and grow the prison population, let's look at ways to reduce the prison population. Let's look at ways to permanently fix this instead of putting a band-aid on it. Once again, I encourage you to watch the Joel Wilborn channel on YouTube. Send some feedback in. Let's get involved. Let's work together to reduce crime in our neighborhood and to put a stop to overcrowding and trauma that comes from the prisons. Let's get rid of them. And together we can do that. So go out, have yourself a wonderful day, and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.